very quietly empty this. Hey Trisha, long time no see. How are you? What I meant to do is this. There we go. Hey Jillian. How's it going? Morning. Somebody was so sleepy that she went to sleep early because she woke up so early. She woke up before 5 this morning, which is really early. So she just passed out like whoosh, you know. Let's do pistachio. Why not? Let's have some deliciousness. Still nicotine free. Yes! I'm thrilled for you though. I mean, it's hard, but you're doing it. It's hard, but you're doing it. I wonder if anyone in here has any tips, like people who have done it before. I am the wrong person for this, obviously. Okay, well I guess that's that then, huh? Well, this one's empty. I guess we'll just use this one. Hey Jen, how is everything progressing, I guess? Next interview show for Thursday at 10 a.m. Okay. Thursday at 10 a.m. We got 2 days to send good vibes, right? It's pretty much the long and the short of it. Wait to go. Oh, you know what I need to do? I added sponges to my shop so that I could buy sponges because we're almost out. And they're on sale today on here. Or at least they were yesterday. I hope they still are today. I wanted to do some quick shopping. Let's see if I can do it. And then we'll get to reading. Where are the Scrub Daddy sponges? Yes. Okay, great. Purchase, yes. Boom. Done, done. Delightful. Okay, and now I can pin our book since I have purchased my sponges. Where did the book go? There it is. Nope. No, I already own it. I don't want to buy it. Here it is. There we go. Hey, Nikki. How's everyone doing? Everyone ready for some more insanity since this book has been crazy at every corner? Like literally every turn on this book has been insane. Hey, Susan. Do you guys really quickly, before we start, want to see the really cute needle minder that Susan sent me? Check this out. How cute is that? It says drink coffee and read books, and it holds my little needle for the project that I'm working on. This is the fourth embroidery that I'm working on. I finished my third one, so I've moved on to the next one. It's better if you see it like that. But I learned how to do a new stitch for these. Kind of cool. But anyway, it's a needle minder. Oops, it goes this way. Sorry, the camera makes it hard. But how cute is that? I thought that was fun. I do love it. My husband was like, that's a really cool concept. I was like, yeah, they'll think of anything these days, right? All right, are we ready for some more crazy? Like, who knows what's gonna happen next in this book? Sorry, this is the wrong book. This is the book I'm reading outside of here. Let's get back into it. Yes. All right, so we were in the middle of a chapter where they're talking about the book that Cheryl wrote. And she talked about like the things that can make a woman successful, which we all know is total BS. Hey, Danny. So now we're going to continue on that. We'll see how far we get before I hope she doesn't wake up anytime early, but we'll see what happens. We never know, right? But we're going to chug along as we can. All right, here we go. Over the coming years at Facebook, I will see both of these concepts tested, chewed out, and thrown aside. But at this point, they seemed very real to me. Around the office, there's a divide. Some of the older women think that lean in is bullshit and a way to get us to do more for nothing. The younger staff are uniformly starstruck by Cheryl's celebrity. I'm somewhere in between these two groups, closer to the younger staff, though. One of the lobbyists is a woman in her 40s and pulls me aside to say, don't take the book seriously. It's just a way to make you feel bad about yourself, which is what Cheryl does. She thinks that I have stars in my eyes, and I'm embarrassed to admit that maybe I do, so I just nod. At Lean In's round table for a dozen female DC staffers that day after the book launch, we were told that we should be grateful for this opportunity to sit with Cheryl. Which is true for some of us. The interns raised their hands to volunteer how the book has changed them and how they love her dress. Narcisco, she coos in response, which, not knowing the designer, I hear as narcissism, and I'm very confused given the broader chat in the office. Why did you do a book and not something else like another TED Talk or a speech or a video? One intern softballs from around the conference table, sidestepping the fact that before Cheryl arrived, we'd all been discussing why she didn't post any of this stuff on Facebook. What a great question, an absolutely fantastic, insightful question, Cheryl responds, sparking a wave of thinly veiled jealousy around the room among the other interns. It's because I wanted to start a national conversation about the best way to do that is a book. It's the starting point for not just a conversation, but a movement. Of course, Facebook claims proudly that it's instrumental in starting movements and conversations, and she's the COO, but it seems clear to me that she hates using the platform personally.
Like most of Facebook's senior staff, Cheryl hardly ever posts. Eventually, the women in the room stray from the book talking points and start asking about Facebook. Hey Ray, we just have read like 2 paragraphs, so you're not missing much. One of the younger women, they're at a round table with Cheryl, and the interns are asking her questions, and she's a bullshitter, as you could imagine. One of the younger women asked what the biggest risk for Facebook is. Us, Cheryl says. The greatest threat to Facebook is us. It's all of us. She sits back and takes in the shocked silence around the table, and then she says, I've seen this happen before. We, the company, get too confident, too complacent. We think that we know everything and we have it all figured out. Hey, Anya, we're just a page in, so you're good to go. I worry about this for everyone, even me. I worry about the day when the people won't tell me the truth straight, when they won't have the hard conversations with me, when I sit in a meeting room and everyone will just agree with me. Then they won't give me the bad news. They won't challenge me. We are all our greatest risk. All of us. I hang on every word. This seems like such impressive self-knowledge and insight that I want to bottle it up. I write it all down thinking that we can add it to a speech somewhere else. It's unthinkable that we wouldn't speak honestly with Cheryl or wouldn't share her bad news. We say what needs to be said. She's the champion of these hard conversations, telling people what they need to hear, even if it feels difficult to do so. I underline, it's all of us, 3 times. Okay. Eye roll is what that is. It's eye roll. The funny thing about Lean In, if you happen to be a young, pregnant-ish looking woman who is the perfect visual accompaniment to some of the book's maxims, for example, don't leave before you leave, Cheryl's thesis is that you should scale back work only after a child arrives, not before. You might find that your book duties extend beyond the launch party. You may soon find yourself winding your way abroad as part of Cheryl's international book tour, because then I'm told I'm going to Japan. Japan has always been a difficult country for Facebook. Our growth rates there have never matched those in the rest of the world. The most compelling theory is that Japan has a culture that doesn't like sharing personal information online. Facebook's lack of popularity in Japan and the fact that Cheryl is not the CEO, visiting a country that's very conscious of status and gender, meant that I was flummoxed when Cheryl announced she wanted to meet the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe as a part of her book tour. How do you casually set up a meeting with the head of state from a G7 country for a tech company that's not even popular in that country, not to mention a meeting that might also be a Trojan horse for book promotion? The answer, I learned from trial and error, is that a lot like getting my job at Facebook, I basically just ask over and over again until someone says they might be able to help. I tell Abe's office that Lean In will be helpful for his Womenomics agenda, which is trying to encourage Japanese women to stay in the workforce and trying to boost the percentage of women in leadership. They buy it. Abe says yes. We land in Tokyo and we arrive at the flashiest hotel I've ever stayed at. It's humbling. Cheryl's room at the Ritz-Carlton, Japan is several times larger than my apartment. She's decided to bring her children and her parents on this trip. I'm excited to meet them until she requests that her parents accompany us to meet Prime Minister Abe. So now I have 2 delightful retirees looking forward to meeting the Prime Minister of Japan after they finish their tea ceremony or whatever other tourism activities they have planned. In my time in the foreign services, I had never seen a head of state show up with their mom and dad, and I don't really know how to handle this ridiculous request. I call up my best friend Beck, who used to work at the International Court of Justice. Beck assures me that she has seen heads of state take meetings with their families alongside them, and I could probably just sneak Adele and Joel Sandberg in. I ask where she's seen this, who, and how. Robert Mugabe. I think he routinely takes meetings with his family, she said, laughing before I hung up, despondent, because this will surely be a disaster. Fortunately, Abe's office is categorical and says no parents can attend meetings with the Prime Minister of Japan. Cheryl begrudgingly accepts this. I may have already been looking for evidence to confirm my sense of foreboding, but when I arrived at Cheryl's suite at the Ritz-Carlton that morning after the meeting, I see a stunningly beautiful Japanese woman, perfectly made up and stylishly dressed, quietly crying outside. Are you okay? I tentatively ask. She nods, and tears are streaming down her cheeks, somehow making her even even more impossibly lovely. And at that moment, Debbie comes out of Cheryl's suite and pulls me in close. I wouldn't go in there. Why? You were gonna go in there, weren't you? Yeah, what's happening? Major issues with hair and makeup. Is that why that person's crying outside the door? Is she the makeup artist? Oh, yeah, the makeup was a disaster. Let's not even mention the hair. I mean, I think it was basically fine, but Cheryl hated it, and some of her instructions were lost in translation, and it all just came to a head. Or on her head. I tried to pun, but Debbie ignores that. Oh God, is it a cultural thing? I asked. Like the makeup artist is doing what she thinks Western women want, like really 80s, still really early. Can you maybe get someone else? Yeah, that was the someone else. She already fired the first makeup artist. Ouch, did she make her cry too? Okay, so I'm guessing a third makeup artist isn't going to happen? No, I think she's just gonna do it herself, but this does not bode well for the day ahead. This side of Cheryl I have not seen before. Debbie lets me know that I better get used to it. I take her warning, and instead I go back to my room, continuing to prep for the meeting with the Prime Minister. Cheryl's approach is very different from Mark's. He wants briefings no longer than a text that he can read on the screen of his phone without scrolling. Cheryl wants as much detail as possible. More than anything, what she really wants is a photo of Prime Minister Abe holding her book, and that's the one thing that the Japanese Prime Minister's office has very politely but very firmly insisted could not be done. Cheryl decides that she'll simply hijack the Prime Minister with a presentation of the book at the end of the meeting. I'm carrying the book. I've added an inscription to the Prime Minister and his wife. It feels like smuggling illicit contraband, and I hate myself for being a part of this. Arriving at the Prime Minister's sleek office, I'm surprised by the crowds of photographers and self-conscious about my pregnant body. I'm not enjoying my role as the designated lean-in visual aid. Cheryl and the Prime Minister mug for the cameras, doing Facebook thumbs up signs, and then the press is dismissed and they sit and they talk, and it's just the two of them, each with a couple of advisors and interpreters who we don't really use. Abe does the whole meeting in perfect English. It goes better than I ever imagined. Cheryl hits every single talking point, and there's actually policy discussion about data centers, consumer protections, and privacy. The lean-in connection to womenomics works. He's interested, and it doesn't really seem out of place. It's a proper diplomacy. His team used everything that we gave them, and Abe came prepared and responded to all the issues that we raised. Cheryl pitches changing Japanese law to allow politicians to use Facebook for elections. We tell him about the disaster response tool that we're developing in the wake of a tsunami, which interests him. By the time they're done talking, it feels like we have a real relationship with him and his key advisors. It's our first successful meeting with a head of state. The whole thing's like a symphony, and I orchestrated it. Cheryl and the Prime Minister stand up. This is the moment that I've been dreading. I have my hand firmly on the copy of Lean In, and I thrust it toward the Prime Minister like it's a bomb about to detonate. And then I leap in front of the two of them with my phone, quickly snapping three photos before his team can stop me. Or maybe they're just reluctant to wrestle away a pregnant lady. Anyway, we return to our van outside his office, ignoring the questions the media are shouting. Cheryl asks me to sit beside her and unexpectedly wraps herself around me and gives me a deep, long hug. That was amazing, Sarah. I don't know how you pulled it off, but it was absolutely phenomenal. I'm trying not to blush. Well, it was a team effort, really. Everyone here in this van, it couldn't have happened without them. Her tone changes. Learn how to take a compliment, she snaps. It was all you and it was wonderful. I feel like I'm being told off. After a day of media events, Cheryl's Lean In town hall, Debbie and the others urge me to come with them for a drink, but I'm tired and pregnant, so I opt to go back in the van in a group that includes Cheryl and her parents. I sit in the back seat trying to be as inconspicuous as possible, letting the warm glow of the day wash over me. The others are talking through the events of the day, and I'm not really listening until I hear Cheryl's voice change sharply at the mention of her children having lunch at McDonald's. She's furious that her children have eaten fast food restaurants. She would never have let them have that sort of food. Honestly, same. We all stare out of the, like, you're in Tokyo. Like, you can get something better. You know what I mean? Like, I was just talking to my husband about this yesterday. Like, we saw someone in the elevator with Chick-fil-A and he mentioned it, and I was like, our daughter will have Chick-fil-A only in a case of which she is like literally starving and I don't have another choice. Like, anything else will come first before I give her hate chicken. We all stare out of the vans at the lights of Tokyo flashing past. It's gently suggested that this was a thoughtful decision, informed by not just the children wanting some comfort in an unfamiliar place with unfamiliar food, but by a photo that she posted on Facebook. Oh, all right. It was taken at McDonald's headquarters, and Cheryl was beaming as she's eating chicken nuggets and a burger. She barks back that of course she wasn't really eating them, it was just for a photo. She doesn't actually eat McDonald's, and neither should her children. What if they were seen eating that crap? Everyone in the car slips into painful silence, and I'm scared that Cheryl will remember that I'm there in the back seat. So I focus on folding my pregnant self into the smallest space possible, daring to even breathe. Bigot chicken? I like that. I usually call it hate chicken, but I think I like bigot chicken better. My mind involuntarily keeps repeating John Updike's quote, "Celebrity is a mask that eats into the face, and the glow from the day's success is now completely gone, and I just feel sad. Sad because every person is trying to do the right thing. Sad because Cheryl can't see the good in the intentions of everyone in that band. Sad because it's so understandable to take a photo at face value, to believe it's real. How was anyone supposed to know that those publicity photos were just a mask that Cheryl chose that day? And finally, I feel a deep sadness for Cheryl, who let the mask eat into her face." We all fly out the next morning, them on United to San Francisco, me on Asiana to New York, and spirits are low. As soon as I land in the US, I switch my phone on and a bunch of messages pop up, checking to make sure that I'm okay. Weird. I'm Googling something and I learned that an Asiana plane, one that departed a little earlier than mine, had crash landed in San Francisco International Airport, killing 3 people and injuring over 200. Yikes. I flip through the news and I see this woman. I mean, am I crazy to think that she just like dodges death at every turn? Like, is she the freaking immortal? It's crazy, right? She's just like boom, 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 dodge, dodge, dodge. Hey, Naisa, how are you? We're finishing up the chapter from yesterday that we didn't get to finish, and then we're going to start the next one. I would not fly with her. But maybe you should, because she has really good luck. She always survives. She survived a shark attack. She survived that military thing, and now this, you know? God, it's so loud. I immediately stop scrolling and I call Debbie. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm just tired of my..." "No," I cut in. "I saw that you guys were supposed to be on the Asiana flight. Did something change?" "You mean Cheryl's Facebook post about being booked on that flight? Yeah, it's totally weird. You weren't on that flight. I mean, you guys were giving me shit for flying Asiana, calling it a budget airline." "I know, it's so strange. Cheryl always flies United. That's who she has status with. We never even considered Asiana, so I don't even know why she posted that. I don't know why she tagged all of us. But now I've got to deal with the incoming media queries that apparently she's emailing reports herself." "I don't get it," I said. "I know I'm jet lagged, but none of this makes sense." No, she's in her room. He's at work. During the week, he goes to work. He leaves at like 6:15 in the morning, so he's long gone. I hang up and I'm unnerved, feeling disquieted that never really leaves. A friend who has seen the reports knows I'm traveling with Cheryl and messages to check that everything's okay. Initially, I repeat what's in the press, thinking what I'm supposed to do, but before I call her back to tell her the truth. People don't lie about narrowly missing plane crashes, do they? Why would she? It's not like she needs more attention. I've never seen Cheryl the same way after that. I have to say that that's pretty shitty. Like, if you were never booked on a flight, you were just booked on another airline that went out of the same airport at the same time, and you're like, "Oh my God, I was almost on that flight." Like, ugh, that's nasty. Like, super nasty. Yeah, it's really early days for him. But he does it specifically for our daughter. Like, you want to know the definition of if he wanted to, he would. He doesn't have to go in that early. He chooses to go in early, so the core hours that they are required to be in the office are 10 to 4, but they still have to work an 8-hour day there. The office just doesn't care if it's before or after. He chooses to go in before so that he can spend his evenings with her and make sure he's here to put her down for bedtime. And like build blocks with her before bed and be here for dinner and read to her and stuff. So he wakes himself up at 6 in the morning and goes into the office at that time just so he can be back for dinner and bedtime. If he wanted to, he would. Yep. Yeah, Susan too. Yeah. So don't let anyone tell you that there aren't good ones. Because there are good ones, you know? Because like I told him, like he was really tired and he got sick after like making this drive so much and working so many crazy hours. I was like, you can go in later and stay later if you want. He was like, yeah, but then I would miss, you know, having any time with her in the evening when she's like awake and playing. And I was like, that's fair. And he was like, I like building with her blocks and reading and all that stuff. I was like, yeah, I know. So We're not making him do it. He's choosing to do it because he loves it. Well, he loves being with her, So it's stupid that they make him go in. It's actually, it's illogical. They are losing so many man hours because everyone who's driving in used to work the hours that they now drive. So they're losing tons of hours, but it is what it is. Okay. Chapter 10 is called Only Good News. It's not like I didn't know about Cheryl's temper before the Japanese trip. I'd seen her blow up many times at a lot of people, berating them, humiliating them, including Marnie, who's one of her best friends. But after Japan, what hits me over and over again is how arbitrary it is. I can never predict what's going to trigger an outburst, which makes it especially unnerving. Are they going to lose step? They already have, Jen, and they don't care. They have, and they don't care. Hey, Isabella, my husband has said multiple times in multiple meetings and to me that what they are doing is probably going to tank the project that they're working on, which is a huge bummer because it is a multi-year long project that is now either going to take longer or get canceled, probably after all their hard work, because they just don't have the staff right now. Yeah. So it's a bad time. It's a bad time for everyone. What are you gonna do, One memorable example, 9 of us are in Cheryl's conference room. The name she's given this room is ominous as you can get, given her anger management issues. The room is called Only Good News. We're waiting for a meeting to begin. The start time comes and goes, and we all sit there, 8 of us, looking at her expectantly. "Where's Debbie?" she demands, and I'm confused. Debbie's been involved in an issue that we're discussing to provide comms advice, but she's not leading the meeting. Someone reassures Cheryl that she'll be here as soon as she can, but we can get things started. "Call her," Cheryl commands, and someone punches Debbie's number into the Polycom in the middle of the table and gently asks her where she is. "I'm nearly there," she assures the gathered group. "Start without me. I'll be with you shortly." "Where are you?" Cheryl demands. "I'm just turning into campus," Debbie assures her. "We're at the traffic lights." We all look at Cheryl, ready for her to start the meeting, but she just sits there, and she waits, and so do we. And the silence is awkward. Minutes pass, and eventually we pass any reasonable amount of time it could take to get from the traffic lights to Cheryl's conference room. It probably wasn't more than 10 minutes, and finally, Debbie enters the room in a bluster of apology, and Cheryl looks accusingly at her and says, "You weren't at the traffic lights." "Sorry, traffic was a nightmare. I had just come off the highway," and Cheryl cuts her off in front of her colleagues and gives her a dressing down about blaming the traffic, rather accepting responsibility for not anticipating the traffic. Okay. I do not agree with yelling at people in front of, I actually don't agree with yelling at people at all, but you shouldn't do things like this, like what Cheryl's doing. That being said, if you routinely go into an office, the traffic patterns, and unless there's some really wild happenstance, you should leave early enough to get to your meetings on time. There's no world where you could catch me wandering into a meeting late. It's just not happening. I'm sorry. I'll be sitting outside 15 minutes before rather than be late. You know what I mean? I don't agree with Cheryl's approach, but I agree with what she's saying. You should plan for traffic if you're going to an important meeting. And if your boss is holding the meeting, it's probably important. So I can kind of see both sides of this. I don't agree with her approach, though. She asks how many times she's driven this particular road and why she hadn't considered the needs of her coworkers in deciding when to leave her house, what time she might need to set aside to get from San Francisco to Menlo Park. And she vents that Debbie has wasted her coworkers' time, making no mention of her own decision to waste our time with her performance. By now, I know that there's probably no specific reason for this outburst, and Debbie's not in the habit of being late. I'd be shocked if she'd been underperforming in the days or weeks before this. It's just how Cheryl is. It's an arbitrary flex of power that seems to be how she operates, unpredictable, keeping us all on edge, never quite knowing when she'll strike, so that we're never tempted to push any boundaries, even the simplest ones. Strict rules selectively enforced on the baseline of ever-present fear. That's how most of old school bosses work, to be honest. A lot of producers on Broadway and directors are known for working in that capacity, where it's just you never know what's going to happen. Hey, Mary. So you're always, it's terrible. It's truly terrible. But you work under fear, I worked for a producer once that I remember watching him step out of the office, and he was angry and everyone scattered like ants. that's how I wrote about it, and that's how I described it. People scattered like ants because he stepped out of his office angry. It was crazy. I was an intern back then, and I was like, wow, this is wild times. Let's see, where were we? It ensures that we obey in advance. Why does someone need to be so mean to the people helping her? I've been at Facebook for a few years now, and I've hit a point like the phase of a romance where you see everything that was great and attracted you to the person in the first place. You're still excited by the future that you're building together, but you've spent enough time together to also see their flaws, and you wonder how deep those flaws run. I don't know if Cheryl's outburst is an occasional thing which I can cope with, or if that's just who she is, and I'm nervous that it's the latter. I feel this way about the job in general. I'm the person Facebook flies in to deal with governments around the world, and it still feels exciting and important to spread this tool around the world and improve people's lives. But at the same time, there's this disturbing thing we're starting to hear about bad experiences that users have on the platform, like kids are being bullied, privacy violations, harassment, and crime triggered by Facebook posts. And there are moments like this. I'm worried that I'm getting too used to these things. We all sit there and we witness Debbie's humiliation. This is someone who normally owns a room. Sassy. Now she's flustered, small, and apologizing over and over again. I'm so sorry. You're right. I should have left earlier. I'm so sorry, Cheryl. I feel terrible for her, but none of us leap to her defense because there's just no point. Or there's the time at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland in 2013, where there's a badge missing for one of Cheryl's assistants. The guilty party is back home in Silicon Valley, so Cheryl lets loose on all the people who happen to be standing in front of her, me and her best friend, Marnie. We're standing at the registration tent, and lots of people are milling about and witnessing her tirade. Why did no one think about this? Do I have to do everything myself? Why do I even have a team who doesn't think through the most basic requirements? What's the point of having you? And I start to respond that our jobs are in policy and that neither one of us is responsible for badges, but Marnie stops me and says, take it quietly. Just take responsibility. So I do, knowing that Cheryl as Marnie kowtowing to Cheryl as Marnie grovels alongside me. And then she and I march into the WEF workroom, literally standing over a staffer refusing to leave until they print the badge. Yikes. Other times, of course, Cheryl is charming, charismatic, and whip smart. She's all these things at once. There's talk of her running for office or taking a job in the Obama administration. There's an influx of people at Facebook who want to work for her. They're drawn to her like moths to a flame. There's a growing class of people looking to align themselves with a billionaire on the up and up, but people are drawn to Cheryl in particular. It's a running joke in the DC office where we know that they're only seeing one side of her. Incoming moth number 27, prepare for impact, we'd say. Sometimes, of course, you can predict something that will upset Cheryl, like when I learned that Angela Merkel, the German chancellor, has declined Cheryl's request for a meeting. Marnie tells me not to tell her. We can never let her know. She says, just say it's a scheduling issue. We both know how angry Cheryl would be if she found out that Merkel didn't think that Cheryl was important enough to talk to. I mean, get off your high horse. This woman's running Germany. Like, am I insane here? No, don't wake up. Don't do it. Half an hour's not enough, baby. Don't wake up. Stay asleep. So that's what I do. I lie to Cheryl. This doesn't feel right. Weeks later, Marnie cracks and tells her, and I don't know why. Exactly as she predicted, Cheryl's hurt and furious. Not at us for lying, although she probably should be worried about that too. She's mad at Merkel and at us for not overcoming any reservations that Merkel has had about the meeting. So, for months after that, anytime her name comes up, Cheryl bitterly reminds everyone how Merkel wouldn't meet with her. It gets to a point where we all try to avoid mentioning Germany at all. In January of 2014, I'm in a meeting with an all-male lineup of Facebook law enforcement experts when my water breaks. I Uber to the hospital and things get underway pretty fast. I get a message. Cheryl's about to unexpectedly go into a meeting with the president of Brazil at Davos, and she wants talking points. Well, I'm in the delivery room with my feet up in stirrups in labor, and I put down my phone and I reach for my laptop and start drafting. What are you doing? Tom asks. I'm getting some talking points to Cheryl. Sarah? No. I continue typing and he appeals to my doctor, a person that he knows I deeply respect. Dr. Becca, please make this stop. 2 more minutes, I say between contractions, trying not to think of Lean-In's directions. Don't leave before you leave. Dr. Becca reaches over and gently closes my laptop and she says, It's a very special thing to give birth to your first child, and I don't think you should be working through it. Cheryl will understand. She won't, I say. Please, just let me push send. You should be pushing, but it's not send. Despite the disapproval in the room, I reopen my laptop and I send the email. I know how this looks, and I can't defend it. Looking back, I still can't quite believe it. I'm ashamed, and I can't blame this entirely on Facebook. I've been this kind of driven person my whole life, and I don't like to let people down. But it's also true that at Facebook, I didn't feel like I had a choice. Not long after that, our daughter Sasha is born. Oh. Our daughter and I share a name. Well, there you go. I did not know that, but I hope she doesn't read this. Don't wake up, honey. No, don't wake up, don't wake up, don't wake up. Don't do it. Sleep, 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 sleep. I'm sending her sleepy vibes. I missed some from a phone call. Oh, it's okay. They're just, so she's in the delivery room trying to give birth and also trying to send an email to her boss at the same time, which is crazy. If we're being honest, I have worked for a boss like that before, which I was so toxically connected to that I probably would have done the same thing if I was still working for her when I gave birth. Luckily, I was long past that, but it has happened, and I can sympathize a little bit. Yeah. Compared with New Zealand, where there's 6 months paid maternity leave, many people take a year there. In short, maternity leave in the US is short, and I feel pressure to return to work before I even use it up. I'm not really sure how to combine this job with motherhood, especially since the job never stops. When I travel to work in a Silicon Valley office, I take the baby and pay coworkers' nannies to watch her. For the part of my job that falls outside traditional work hours, Sasha just comes with me to rally in Madison Square Garden for India's new elected Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. And then she comes to Canada, where Facebook has been ordered to testify in Parliament, and where I'm detained at the border until a phone call to Tom satisfies the border officials that I'm not absconding to Ottawa after kidnapping a tiny baby. I thought that I was doing a good job in a difficult situation. Off topic, my niece loves Jet the cat. Not being a cat rider. Wait, I don't know that one. I don't know Jet the cat. I'm gonna have to look it up. But my first performance review after maternity leave is problematic. While it's positive, the only negative feedback relates to my baby. The fact that people can hear her in the background of calls, mostly because the West Coast time means I'm often taking calls on the East Coast in the evening at home where my baby lives. Travel is more complicated too. I'd relocated to New York, and that meant that I now had to travel to Washington, D.C. regularly, where I'm from, and it's more usual for the baby to be with it. Where I'm from, it's more usual for a baby to be with its mother or family for the first 6 months of its life, if not longer. My family's trying to come up with creative ways to make that happen, with my mother, my grandmother, and my sister all traveling to New York to help. A few weeks after the review, Marnie and I are at Facebook headquarters when Cheryl pulls me aside. Marnie told me about your childcare situation, she says breezily, and I'm mortified that this is something that's been discussed with the COO of the company. But I understand this is her way of caring. She's trying to be nice, and she says it because she likes me. Hire a nanny, she instructs. Be smart, and hire a Filipina nanny. She mistakes my look of horror for skepticism. Sarah, I'm telling you, they're English-speaking, sunny disposition, and they're service-oriented. Marnie echoes this sentiment. Both of them have at least one Filipina nanny in their retinue of staff. I call Tom and I tell him about these conversations, telling him that the CEO of Facebook is now involved in our child care. This is appalling, he says. How can employers even say such things? I guess it's the real lean in, like the stuff Cheryl really believes about work and womanhood, but doesn't put in the book. I don't want it to be an issue for my performance reviews in the future, so Tom and I follow their instructions. Nope. 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 This is where I draw the line. Nope. No. The day our new Filipina nanny starts, I'm in Mexico with Mark, meeting the Mexican president. He was completely against this meeting, and I don't feel like I can opt out. And after browbeating him into it, as a part of my push to have Mark engage at the presidential level to understand how Facebook is impacting other countries. It's my first time leaving Sasha, and I cry the whole way to the airport. Tom is a vigilant father in ordinary times, and the first day that the baby's alone with the nanny, he's extreme. Obsessively checking the baby monitor, which streams video. He's setting up his mobile and desktop at his office, and during one of these checks, he sees that the baby is alone in her playpen, and the nanny is conspicuously absent. At first, he's curious, but the longer he watches with no nanny in sight, the more alarmed he becomes. So he tries to call our new nanny, and she doesn't pick up. Panicked, he continues to obsessively check the monitor and call the nanny, and then everyone we know in the neighborhood. No one's home. Eventually, in the background, he sees a firefighter in full gear walking through our small apartment. No. I would lose it. No. He immediately abandons his desk and calls 911, demanding to know why emergency services are in our home. They can't help. He calls me in Mexico City. The baby, he says as soon as I pick up. The baby's alone and there's a firefighter in our apartment. Panic doesn't begin to capture the terror I feel as he relays what's happening. I'm in a car with Elliot and Javi speeding towards the Mexican president's house. From the Mexican president's house to a Carlos Slim event, and as Thomas speeds through the streets of Manhattan as fast as a taxi agrees to drive him, I don't think I've ever heard him more scared. Ultimately, Sasha is fine. Our small New York third-floor walk-up has some cupboards outside the front door, and our nanny went to get something from the cupboard and found herself locked out with her phone inside the apartment. Eventually, she used a stranger's phone to call emergency services who broke through the roof. You could not pay me to walk out the door while the baby's inside, even if it's just to go to a cupboard. No. No. She comes with me to the trash. She comes with me to the mail. There's no world. You don't leave a baby. No. No, no, no. Like, unless she was literally Zoe's age, I would not walk out there. And even Zoe's age, I'd be okay with it, just going to the trash if I knew I had my keys with me when she's Zoe's age, because Zoe can use a phone, and so it's like, okay, you know? And it's like 30 seconds down the hall. She's 5. She'll be fine. She's almost 6, actually. This is insane. Fired. Instant fired. Like, sorry, there's no second chances on something like this. You walked out the door and my baby was in the house, you're fired. Sorry. I mean, am I crazy? Am I the crazy one? This is insane. You pick up the infant and go with you to the cupboard. This baby is under 6 months old. What is she gonna do inside the house alone? Oh my God. Oh my God. Insanity. Crazy. Okay, they broke in through the roof. With everyone safe and accounted for, we eventually forget about it until my next performance review when Marnie raises it. You shouldn't tell stories like that about the one with your baby and the nanny, and my heart sinks because she wasn't even in Mexico. It wasn't a story. My baby was trapped by herself and the fire department was called and we didn't know if something terrible had happened. That's not the point. Those are personal issues. I'm trying to help you, to give you honest feedback. When you're in the most senior members of the team meeting, Mark, Elliot, and Javi, you need to just be professional and be focused on that. Seriously, my baby was alone in an apartment with emergency services breaking through the roof and I'm not supposed to mention it because it's too personal. Are they discussing this situation after and they found me lacking because of it? The expectation at Facebook is that mothering is invisible, and the more skilled you are, the more invisible it is. Months later, when the baby's rushed to the hospital in an ambulance, I don't mention it for days, and then I only mention it in passing, assuring Marnie that it won't affect my work in any way. Nope. Nope. This don't mention the children ethos is of course the opposite of the cheery slogan at Facebook, which is bring your authentic self to work. At Cheryl's lean-in stories about leaving work at 5:30 and telling her coworkers she needed to be home with her children, because in reality there's a big difference between what the people at Facebook say and what they do, especially in relation to children. For example, Facebook planned to launch a Facebook for Children codenamed Project Family, and Cheryl would occasionally remind the policy team of the failure to do this when we had the opportunity, blaming the policy team for missing the chance to get kids on Facebook back then. But she, like most of the leaders at Facebook with young children, severely even limit their children's access to screens, let alone have social media accounts, and she never shares images of her children on social media. Silicon Valley is awash in wooden Montessori toys and shrouded in total screen bans. Parents at work talk about how they don't allow their teens to have mobile phones, which underscores how well these executives understand the real damage that their product inflicts on young minds. This year, Like every year, Cheryl hosts Women's Day, an off-site conference for all the women who work for Facebook. At that point, it's hundreds of women who she flies in to stay at a hotel in San Francisco. We're asked to share hotel rooms, which is an odd professional situation for grown women, forcing us to navigate sleeping, sharing bathrooms, and wearing pajamas around our colleagues. Women's Day is part evangelical church event, part multi-level marketing summit, and part Tony Robbins seminar, part yoga retreat, part Oprah episode. Cheryl presides dressed in Lululemon yoga pants and Ugg boots, and there's a lot of talk about motherhood. Cheryl's favored lieutenants in shiny uniformity provide relatable stories about how they balance parenting and demanding careers. The head of HR mock confides in a scandalously humorous tone that she sometimes gives her children cereal for dinner. Cheryl tells stories from Lean In about bringing her 4-year-old daughter on a friend's corporate jet, the eBay Gulfstream, where her daughter announced, "Mommy, my head itches," and Cheryl checked and her daughter had lice. Okay, well, that sucks. "I was the only person bringing young children on this corporate plane," she said. "I spent the rest of the flight in a complete panic, trying to keep her isolated and her voice down." This is offered as a story that any mom can connect to. No. The lice part, sure. Being on a private jet, no. I nannied kids and they got lice. You know what I mean? It was a lot of work. I get it. That part's relatable. But I doubt she was the one combing them out. I did that. Have you ever combed lice out of a 9-year-old's head? It's awful. Just so you know. Just so you know. Yeah. As if we all have friends with Gulfstreams. And then there are videos of women from Cheryl's inner circles, all white, beautifully lit and shot, working in their palatial home gyms, playing with their photogenic children, and relaxing in with their mutually supportive husbands. All of these mothering fables are carefully edited to the role played by the phalanx of nannies and other help who usually do the bulk of the actual labor of raising children. Been there, done that. I haven't, it's not fun, but also look at the executives at eBay where my kid wouldn't be on that jet. Yeah, I mean that too, but that's, yeah. Mothering is in form here, not function. They don't discuss the real secret behind the maintaining work-life balance. Mothering as if they don't have children. It's an ungirdled by their multi-million-dollar paychecks. There's usually some trauma corn, heroic tales of less high-profile employees working through cancer or some other tragedy, but now there's a video montage that they always triumph with and return to Facebook working harder and better than they ever did before. The point, I suppose, is to measure your life against theirs, and it's supposed to inspire you to work harder. Cheryl pushes the same kind of messages in weekly updates that she sends to senior executives called the HPM, Highlights People Me. Stories like the time Cheryl and her family went on holiday with Marnie and her family in Europe. Here's the story. Due to working issues and the time change, I wound up missing most, if not all, of the breakfasts and dinners as I was on the phone. During one of the last dinners, my kids came to find me. I was sitting in a staircase outside the restaurant on the phone, and they looked upset and started to tell me that they thought that I should be at dinner, but I had to tell them that I had to finish the call and then we would talk. When I was off, I came to find them, expecting to find them upset, but instead they gave me a big hug and said, "We just want to thank you for working so hard to help billions of people." I looked at Marnie, who was on that vacation with us and another family, and I asked her what happened. And Marnie said she had seen them upset and explained that she knew that I did not want to miss meals, and I was upset too, but I had a job to do and they should be proud of me. It was a brilliant reframe that I know I will try again when I need it. It might help some of you when you need professional or personal reasons one day too. Cheryl's messages were not subtle. Wow. Okay. So although my daughter is only 13 months old, I have nannied children that are older, and I am here to tell you those children did not say that. Are you guys a part of that Facebook group? Sorry, it's a Facebook group, which underscores my point because it's funny, but like some parts of, I will stand by, there are good parts of the internet, there are good parts of social media. This is social media. We have a good time. This is a positive space. It's always been a positive space. There's no issues between us. It's wonderful, right? There's a Facebook group called That Child Didn't Say That. It's literally this. That child didn't say that. No. No. The kid was on its iPad. and ignored her for the rest of the night. I guarantee you. Chapter 11 is called Road Trip. Lots of moms have issues combining breastfeeding and working. True. My issue is the expectation from my bosses that breasts can be turned on and off like a faucet, and I can breastfeed anywhere, anytime. And I really mean anywhere. In the summer of 2014, Colombia's Minister of Information Technology and Communications invites Javi to Colombia 3.0, a tech conference in Bogota. I think Javi can handle this one on his own, and I have a 5-month-old at home. My bosses think differently. I'm ordered to go. I reconcile myself to this. It's just 3 days. I can't bring the baby, but I can bring a breast pump, and I can handle it. Nope. We're in Colombia because of something called Internet.org. Mark launched it nearly a year ago in August 2013 with a paper grandly titled, Is Connectivity a Human Right? And in his opening paragraph, he lays out what he calls one of the greatest challenges of our generation. Quote, today we connect more than 1.15 billion people each month, but as we start thinking about connecting the next 5 billion, we realize something important. The vast majority of people around the world don't have access to the internet. Mark then presents his vision for how to give free internet to all those people. He explains that we could radically reduce the cost of building the infrastructure and data delivering if we start them off with very basic service. The key is that it would all be text, no movies, no high-resolution photos, no music. Those all use too much data. He says that the priority should be tools to get people information that they need. For Mark, that means search, some version of Wikipedia, weather, messaging, and of course social media. Websites would be modified to text-only versions. Already, Facebook has an app like this called Facebook Zero, with lots of users across Africa and Asia. I did not know that. Who will bear the cost of these free services? The mobile operators, the telecom companies around the world, they're the ones who are going to invest. Mark agrees that all of this scheme makes smart business sense for them because it delivers hundreds of millions of new customers who eventually will want to upgrade and buy data plans for their phones. One of his big talking points is that once people get a taste of what's on the internet, they will want to pay for more data and more access. Unfortunately, he's not wrong. In Africa, Facebook users are already making the switch to broadband, and so they can get pictures and everything else that they don't get on the text-only project. The org in Internet.org is a way of suggesting that it's an altruistic mission at the heart of all this. So that's the vision. A few months later, Mark announces partnerships that Facebook's Connectivity Lab has established to build drones, satellites, and lasers to deliver the internet to billions of people who don't have it. I'll admit that I and the rest of the policy team don't pay much attention to this at all. Internet.org is in such a nascent stage, and just one of the projects that Facebook has going on at the time. Facebook buys WhatsApp and the virtual reality company Oculus within a month of Mark's announcement of this fleet of low-flying internet drones. But from the little I know, it does sound like a good thing. Then, in May 2014, Chile's telecommunications regulator makes it illegal to give away the kind of free services that Internet.org plans to offer, effectively banning the venture before it's even launched. And I hear this from Javi, who's alarmed. Chile is small, but if it starts spreading to other countries, he says, we're gonna have a problem. We decide that we need a quick win, some Latin American government saying yes to Internet.org. To help convince them, I suggest to Javi that we add a free e-government service to the Internet.org apps. Things like paying your taxes or signing up for social services that will give each government a stake in the game. Fair. We're here in Colombia to try to convince President Juan Manuel Santos to be our partner. I need some big name to stand on a stage with us and tell the world, especially other presidents and prime ministers, that they love Internet.org and make the Chileans reconsider their decision. The way that we get President Santos is to first court his Minister of Information Technology and Communications. Javi signs us up to see the first-hand challenges of connectivity in the jungle. The minister describes it to Javi as we're getting to know the real Colombia through a road trip. We fly to Bucaramanga in the north, and then we land, and we're led to a line of armored vehicles occupied by military men with large guns and dark green uniforms. It turns out that the area is a stronghold for the militia of the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, FARC, revolutionary guerrillas who are still fighting and kidnapping foreigners despite the ongoing peace negotiations. My sense of alarm arises when it's explained that the minister will not be riding in the big black ministerial jeep or the decoy big black ministerial jeep, which is what we're told to ride in, but instead in one of the many security vehicles accompanying them. perched among a group of soldiers with automatic weapons. I asked Javi if such a thing is a good idea, like getting into this car is too dangerous for a government official to ride in. He's like, I don't know, let's just roll with it. And so we get in. Is she insane? I'm sorry, but like, you have a 5-month-old at home? We drive for hours into the jungle off-road. I mean, there are no roads and obviously no electricity, no privacy. It's hard to imagine a worse place to try to use a bulky electric breast pump that needs to be plugged into a wall. 4 or 5 hours into this, I'm in physical pain, but I don't dwell on that because I'm so afraid we'll be attacked. We seem like a ridiculously conspicuous target churning our way through the wilderness, and I think if we're kidnapped, pumping is going to be out of the question, and ultimately it is totally for this trip. Despite the acute excruciating pain, I don't pump until I'm safely back in Bodica that night. But this wasn't the worst of my experience. 2 months later, in September 2014, I go to Turkey. After my experience in Colombia, I'm nervous about pumping, and I'm right to be. The pump needs to be plugged in, and once our Turkish airline flight hits cruising altitude, I discover that neither the bathroom nor the seats has any outlets. I know, right? Seriously, like she has to have hit her head, Mary. I don't want to look it up, Jen, because I don't like spoilers, but like I also want to know. Like, this poor guy, like, I'm totally on his side. Her husband's correct in all of this, or I don't know if they're married or whatever. I can't remember if they got married. I think they did. But like, he's like, can you just like not put yourself or our child in danger? Like, he's not asking a lot. He's not asking her to give up her job. He's not like, he's just like maybe don't do dangerous stuff. I don't know. I don't feel like that's a big ask. Just like, don't go into dangerous situations while you're pregnant and or have an infant at home. Dunno. I discover that neither the bathroom nor the seats have outlets. Over the next 10 hours, my anxiety rises as my breasts swell and harden with milk. I'm in a black cardigan and a white t-shirt, and by the time I make it through customs and immigration with the white t-shirt soaked, I'm in agony. Predictably, the cab line is long, and traffic in central Istanbul is terrible. By the time we make it to the hotel, I'm beyond desperate to pump. Okay, so like, while I understand the pain that she's in, there are hand pumps, and if electric pumps already existed by the time she's doing this, I don't know when electric pumps got popularized. I am certain that hand pumps already existed. She should have just brought a hand pump, because then you don't need electricity. Like, am I crazy on that one? I still think everything she's doing is insane, but like, get a hand pump. You know, it's one that you just do this yourself with, right? I don't know. By the time we make it to the hotel, I'm beyond desperate to pump. There's a massive line to check in, and I find myself tapping my foot and squeezing my palms ready to burst. As soon as I'm safely in my room, I simply drop the suitcase, grab the pump as fast as I can, and plug it in, not even bothering to remove my t-shirt, which is now a translucent rag. I just use the V-neck and attach the arcane pieces of equipment and flip on the switch to start the pump. It turns over. Click, click, click. I check that the room key is in the slot for electricity just in case that's the issue, but no, nothing. I navigate my way back to reception where there's still a long line, and when I get to the front of it, I explain the problem, and the woman at the desk looks confused, apologizes, and says that her English isn't very good. So I switch to hand gestures and lots of circular motions and squeezing my hand. I'm so close to tears and frustration and pain that at a certain point, I just gesture to my breasts and my sopping t-shirt and make a squeezing motion, and she finally smiles knowingly and gives me a wink and assures me that she'll have it sorted out in no time. So I head back to my room. She can't talk about family issues at work, so she probably can't pump either. Yeah. As soon as I hear the knock at my door, I race to open it. There's a man in overalls, dark shaggy hair, stubble, gray eyes, and I give him the most welcoming smile and hurry him over to the room, closing the door. I bring him over to the pump by the bed and explain the clicking noise, and it becomes clear that he doesn't speak English at all. But what's weird is that he seems totally uninterested in the pump. I've perched beside the bedside trying to explain the issue to him, and at a certain point I realize he's gently guiding me into the bed. I shake my head no, and I point back to the pump, and he looks confused and gestures to my t-shirt and my breast popping out of this V-neck, and he lifts his hands and does the same air pumping motion that I performed in the lobby earlier. And suddenly I realize the kind of pumping he has in mind, and this is not going to help me. I point to my wedding ring and I shake my head no. There's our answer. She's married. He musters some English. No problem, no problem. It's no problem for me. Yes, but it's a problem for me. There's been some kind of misunderstanding. This isn't what I need. I walk to the other side of the room and I open the door and walk out. At a nearby pharmacy, I buy what I surmise is a hand pump. Finally, relief. Roughly a half a day after I first needed it. So she does have a hand pump. Why didn't you bring a hand pump with you? Like, electricity is different in every country. Plugs are different in every country. If you don't know what you're going to be up against when you get to a hotel, just bring the hand pump anyway. They're not expensive. Trust me. Hey, John. Speaking of John, guys, John and I recorded his podcast yesterday. He should have that up soon. If you guys don't follow John yet, you should. And you should subscribe to the Untitled Storytellers podcast on Spotify, because I will be the next episode, which is kind of fun, right? So yeah, that's the whole kit and caboodle there. Yes, it's going to be exciting. I don't know when it's going up, but I'll obviously post about it as soon as it does. Oh, hopefully tonight. Oh, okay, well, that's fast. Jeez, I didn't think it was going to be that fast. He must not be editing out very many of my shenanigans if he's going to have it up by tonight, because we talked a lot. Can't wait to see you. I was looking forward to it. It's called the Untitled Storytellers Podcast, and it's only on Spotify currently. John can tell us whether or not he's planning on putting it on other platforms. I also listened to the first episode. Me too. Yeah. The first episode, yeah, we had a blast. It was great. John, this is my pitch. Once your podcast gets popular and you have like 1 million sponsors and 1 million episodes, have me back for like the 102nd episode as a like whatever. And we'll talk about whatever's going on at that time. John also gives away a spoiler about some stuff going on for him in our podcast episode. When you should listen if you want to hear something. He gives a tiny spoiler for some of his stuff. So just saying, you can see my genuine reaction. It was pretty funny. So yeah, that's pretty good stuff. I can show you guys this. John was living with me through all of my daughter's naps yesterday, but since her face isn't facing, you guys can see how she's napping right now. She's facing the wall because she's a silly girl, but there she is. She's sleeping sideways in her bed for some reason. I mean, I'm not going to stop her. She fits both ways, so it doesn't really matter, right? I don't care which way she sleeps as long as she's safe. Yeah, she's real cute. She turns around in circles in her bed all the time. But anyway, John has one episode up right now with another author named Brian. I can't remember his last name because I have baby brain, but I believe his first name was Brian. He's the first episode. I will be the second episode, and I have no idea what's coming after that, but it's very exciting. John asks great questions. It's easy rapport. It's fun to listen to. Good stuff. I actually told my husband about the first episode because the guy who is in the first episode wrote a book about being a dad to daughters, and so I told my husband about it because we have a daughter, so why not, right? So see, the podcast works. You're already getting other authors new purchases. There you go. Did I ever tell you John's first book is how I found it? Yeah, no, I did know that, right? I did know because we read 2 or 3 of John's books in book club. I can't remember. We are not reading John's newest series in book club for a very specific reason. It's not TikTok friendly. No offense, John, I love you dearly, but I have Primordial Spire, and it is not something I could read aloud on here the way that the other books were. It would be too much censoring for me. It would be difficult to read it aloud. I do own it. I don't read it aloud. But we did read John's other books. So yeah, that is different, right? So anyway, that is the and I will tell you something, and I'm not going to give any details. I found you both separately through the algorithm. The algorithm definitely has something to do with it. I will tell you something else. John sent me a pitch yesterday, not pitching me, but the pitch that he wrote for the world of another project that he's working on. When I tell you guys, it is literally up book club's alley. It is so. How do I say this without giving anything away about his new project? It's possibly a multi-book series. I think he told me 3, but irrelevant to that, the genre / topic of this new book that he's working on is something that we here in book club have read. I want to say, I think we've read 3 or 4 of this type of book here in book club, so that will seamlessly fit into book club to read here, which is very exciting. John's book, actually his first book, was I think our 4th book that we ever read in book club. It was like that long ago. but fourth or fifth book, very early on. Like I said, no primordial fire here in book club, not appropriate. But this new one, because I think, John, correct me if I'm wrong, you said that the new one might be sort of almost YA-ish. Is that true? Did I misread that? Because we were talking about so many things at the same time. John can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, YA-ish. Okay. So not only TikTok appropriate, but the genre, and I'm not going to say it because John's not ready to talk about it yet, but the genre is something we literally read like all the time in this book club. So we will 100% be reading it in book club. Like 100%, because it is so incredibly up our alley. I read the blurb and I was like, yep, that's for book club. Done. Like, it was that simple. Like, I read one page and I was like, it's for us. So as soon as that comes out, we'll all get it and we'll all read it and do it together, because it's just one of those things, you know? Maybe John will send us a signed copy. Oh, remember how we've had a couple of different authors, John included, come and talk to us about their books? I think that that is the type of book we should do a talk back about, because the topics are really, it's really interesting. Like, I think it worked really nicely for us here. So anyway, that's all a tangent. We still have a little more time because she's sleeping, and this next chapter says it's only 11 minutes long, so we might as well just chug along. John, hop right in. We're reading, just so you know, John, we're reading a book called Careless People. It's about, well, it's a tell-all from a woman who worked at Facebook in like the height of all the craziness. It's freaking insane. She got bit by a shark in the first chapter, John. It's not okay. None of it's okay. Not because of Facebook. She was 13 when that happened, but still. All right. Chapter 12 is, yeah, literally, you should go listen to the episode that has the first chapter in it and just listen to the part about the shark bite. As a parent, like, it's worth listening to, John. Just watch us react as parents to how her parents handled her getting bit by a shark. You have a 13-year-old daughter. The whole book is a wild ride, but as a dad to a 13-year-old daughter, go listen to the first episode of this. It's on YouTube. And literally be like, how do you look at your 13-year-old and react that way when they've been bit by a shark? Like, I can't fathom it. They're insane. But anyway, this is chapter 12. Chapter 12 is called The Body. Here we go. We're about to travel to the one country in the world where there's an open arrest warrant for Mark Zuckerberg. Oh. And what country might that be? And Mark thinks that this is the time to show us his fake gangsta handshakes. Nope. No, that's not the time for that. No, sir. That's the time to not go to this country. Debbie and I are trying to teach him the respectful bows that one is supposed to do when meeting the leader of South Korea. Cheryl, of course, diligently absorbs all our advice on bows, greetings, gifts, and other protocols that issues that arise when meeting a head of state, but Mark treats it like a weird goofing off session. Debbie and I are demonstrating where to put your hands, when to bow to the president, how to arrange your face, how deep the bow goes, and he crosses his arms like the Kangol hat era LL Cool J and rocks his body from side to side hip-hop style before moving into a series of fist bumps, high fives, and backwards low fives. Sir, I'm gonna need you to stop. We're not going to the Grammys. We're going to South Korea. You can embarrass yourself at an award show. I mean, you would be. This is embarrassing. Is he okay? He's not. Mary, I don't think so. Let's not even get into how odd the moves look coming from this slim, pale to the point of translucency man with a square haircut and very rigid posture. It's troubling because this matters. When, oh, sorry, I have to sneeze. Always one more. One more. Is that it? I think that's it. Okay. It's troubling because this matters. When Bill Gates greeted the South Korean president with one hand in his pocket, it was considered so disrespectful that he made headlines as the handshake that bruised the nation. It undermined anything else that came out of those meetings, and my Korean friends still talk about it. But Mark doesn't care. Of course, this is the same man who has shown absolutely no interest in policy issues or countries outside of the US since I arrived at Facebook, or almost no interest. The first time that Mark traveled to a country to meet with a foreign head of state since I arrived was in 2012 when he flew to Russia. He met Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev, and then in 2013 he had a perfunctory meeting with the Korean president of which both both of which Marnie handled. Mark was very nervous and very sweaty in both of these. Hey Sophie, how are you? How's your pregnancy going? The few policy meetings that Mark agrees to do after that harden his belief that meeting with foreign leaders is not a good use of his time. Midway through this protocol session, I realize that I'm one of the few people who work with him on something that he's scared of. His discomfort and fear are visible and can be measured in sweat. This trip in October 2014 is the first time that I'm going to be working so closely with Mark. Up until now, most of our interaction has been over email or filtered through Cheryl, Elliot, or Marnie. It's been functional exchanges that occasionally have meetings, not weeks together on the road. 4 years after I pitched Mark on engaging with heads of state, we're now trying to secure meetings with a bunch of them in one trip, including those of Indonesia, Japan, and Korea. This does not go down well with Cheryl. Meeting with world leaders is her terrain, and she instructs Elliot that Mark should not be doing other stuff beyond business meetings outside the US. Elliot rolls his eyes at this. Of course the company's CEO should be meeting with presidents and prime ministers. He tells me that he'll take care of this, and he does. Mark is bringing the M team, the top managers of the company, M counts for management, on this trip. It's the first time that they're traveling together outside the US. The full court press is because the company's growth is increasing in Asia. This trip will open up a new front in Facebook's slowly expanding war with Google, despite the fact, or maybe because of, so many of our top managers working at Google before. There's a profound mistrust in the search giant and a discomfort about the way that Facebook relies on Google for the company's future success. Interesting. Right now, most of our users access Facebook on their Android phones or iPhones. Android is made by Google, so this gives Google and Apple very meaningful control over Facebook. Either could potentially remove Facebook from their app stores and devices, or they could restrict things in a way like notifications and working with Facebook. Google is very aware of their power over Facebook, and it's increasing pressure in a variety of ways, like requesting payment or data in return for Facebook's use of Google Maps. Years later, when Apple allows iPhone users to opt out of tracking Facebook for advertisers, Facebook's market value drops by $10 billion. No, there's nothing like it, Nagisa. It's the greatest life. At one point, Facebook tried to take more control of its destiny by creating its own phone called Project Buffy, named semi-ironically for Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Social Layer. It launched in 2013 as a collaboration with a Chinese company called HTC, and it was a massive flop. Time magazine called it one of the biggest tech failures of the year. Yikes. In fact, this trip to Korea is framed as an M-team trip to Samsung. The goal for the trip is to deepen trust and build goodwill with a company that isn't Apple or Google. Maybe Samsung will agree to preload Facebook onto all Samsung phones. Unfortunately, Korea is the only country that has an open criminal investigation into Facebook's executives. There are arrest warrants for Mark and Cheryl and other M-team members. The reason for this is unclear, but it appears that the body that oversees gaming in Korea wrote us a warning that Korean law required Facebook to submit the games on our platform to be rated by the government. It's not exactly clear what happened after the letter was received, but the Koreans say that Facebook totally ignored it. It's shocking that there was no reply, but I guess it's plausible. The companies still move fast and break things and ask for forgiveness, not permission. Now the situation has escalated. The cybercrime branch of the Seoul police has gotten involved, and you don't mess around with Korean police. When they start investigating Google, Google's head of Korea flees the country. Still, Facebook appears to stonewall, claiming that basically no one in Korea, not the Korean government, not the Korean police, has any power over them. Okay. This seems to be Facebook's preferred position on all countries outside of the US and Ireland, where it has international headquarters. The company disputes their power to regulate Facebook at all unless they've enacted specific laws targeting our business and legislating jurisdiction. So, I believe if a local government notices false advertising on Facebook and asks us to take it down, unless they have a law giving them power to prohibit misleading ads that specifically apply to social media companies, Facebook won't act. Facebook's American leadership believes that values, this is quite a statement. Facebook's American leadership believes that the values it defines can trump national laws when they conflict. That's what seems so outrageous to me in how Korea is being handled. The government there does have a law demanding that we get our games rated and approved, and it seems that we're refusing to even acknowledge it. It's A hard argument to make, rejecting the authority of a government or policy agency in a country where you operate. And Korea isn't alone in cracking down on Facebook. There are other countries that have open investigations for all sorts of reasons. Our international offices have had visits and raids, armed and unarmed, in Brazil, Korea, India, and France. I usually hear about these on a phone call or an email when it arrives in our local head of office. Hi, there's a man with a gun here who wants to know when we're going to be paying taxes in Brazil. It literally says hi with like a bunch of eyes and an exclamation point. So it's like, hi. I don't think I'd be saying hi that way if a man with a gun was in my face. By now, it happens with enough regularity that we've set up emergency procedures for these raids. They include shutting down Facebook's access to the network because, of course, the real difference between a virtual state like Facebook and a real state like Brazil or Korea is that they have real police with real arms. In India, the situation is so bad that Facebook's leadership requires an ex-police captain who's been given some boring official sounding title, but is understood by the policy team to be someone who would be able to handle an arrest situation well. That is, they'd be able to go to jail and clash between Facebook and the Indian government. In August, just a few weeks before our trip, a Korean crisis meeting is called. Elliot is part of the M team going on the trip, and so he's very suddenly focused on the potential for him, Mark, and Cheryl to end up in a jail cell. Our lawyers have sent an email that includes the line, "The threat of jail and criminal liability is very real." I set out various solutions based on the possibility that Facebook is guilty as charged, like we could cooperate with Korea's cybercrime police, or we could shift Facebook's whole approach and just review how we obey the laws of countries in which we're operating. Would this apply everywhere? Marnie asks. Well, yeah, we can't just make the change for Korea or other countries. They're going to see why it happens, and the arrest issue warranted for Mark, I say to a dissatisfied room. I mean, I think it's a change we need to make everywhere anyway. This is getting no traction, so I decide not to speak further, ceding the floor to those more senior than me. We need a body to arrest, to call their bluff, to see how serious they are. It's breathtaking to me how casually leadership speaks of employees being jailed. It's as if life, like taxes, through the course of something that they're trying to avoid. Well, everyone starts calling this mitigation strategy, even though the mitigation in this place is to find a body that they can arrest. I lose track of the conversation and I get lost in the thoughts about how their language removes moral questions. A body to arrest is more like chattel you own rather than someone's son or daughter. It's such an odd phrase to hear in corporate America. This is what we're talking about, rather than when our actions in Korea are right or not. We need someone to test the appetite of Korean authorities for arresting someone from headquarters. It can be someone located there. They need to fly in before Mark and Cheryl do, like a body, Elliot states matter-of-factly, and the room falls silent. It's a weird thing to realize that the tech world is most of modern industry has this cannon fodder. Sorry, I read that very poorly, but it is weird. I can't go, one of the senior security guys in the room quickly says, followed quickly by others. But they didn't need to. Everyone in this room is too senior to be the body. Eventually, the silence becomes awkward, and I slowly realize that everyone's looking at me, the least senior person in the room. Me? I ask as if there's been a terrible case of mistaken identity, and Elliot nods. I'm the body? Okay, that's insane. No. I quit. I'm not going. What is she thinking? This is not okay. She's crazy. I forgot to say what percentage we're at for everyone keeping track. Let me go check. We are at 31%. Insane. Pure insanity. Even if she didn't have a baby, you can't volunteer. I can't. This woman is insane. She makes very bad choices. Very bad choices. My daughter is somehow still asleep, which is crazy to me, but I'm gonna let her sleep, obviously. We got a lot of good reading done, which is very exciting. And I will have more info on the Slow Mo book for you guys later if you want it, but there is a link in my link tree to where you can get it if you are looking to get one for your preteen or kid or whoever I know some people wanted them for Easter. I know Ray got one for Caddy. It's super cute. The art is really cute. I have a copy of it, and it's I can't wait to read it. I'm gonna read some of it here on book club. Real cute, real cute. I think it's definitely something that I would not yet, but like in a couple years, gift to Zoe. She's a little young for it still, but because she can't read that well yet. But when she can, I'll give it to her. Yeah, so it's good stuff. Oh, someone's waking up. She's got her little feet against the side of the. She's so silly. So anyway, I will see you all tomorrow for more good times. 50% of the book today from phone calls. That sucks. Well, I'll upload it as soon as possible, so that you can catch up on the insanity that is this book, because it was freaking crazy. But we're at 31% for anyone keeping track, and we will have more tomorrow. We got a lot of good reading done today, you guys. We got through 3 chapters.